ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్ 2024 విభిన్న రంగాల్లో దక్షిణ భారతదేశ గళాన్ని గట్టిగా వినిపించిన సదస్సు. దేశ రాజధాని ఢిల్లీలోనో మహానగరం ముంబైలోనో కాకుండా దక్షిణాది గొంతు ఇక్కడే వినపడాలనే లక్ష్యంతో ఏబీపీ నిర్వహించిన ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్ 2024 అన్ని రంగాలకు సమాన ప్రాధాన్యతను కల్పిస్తూ వారికి ఓ వేదికలా నిలిచింది. గతేడాది చెన్నైలో సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్ 2023 జరగగా ఈసారి హైదరాబాద్లో ఈ 2.0 వేడుకను నిర్వహించింది ఏబీపీ న్యూస్ నెట్వర్క్. ప్రజలను నేరుగా ప్రభావితం చేసేది రాజకీయ రంగం. భిన్నమైన సిద్ధాంతాలు, విభిన్నమైన వ్యూహాత్మక అడుగులు. రాజకీయం అంటేనే ఓ రణరంగంలా ఉంటుంది పరిస్థితి. అలాంటిది రెండు తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాల్లో పేరెన్నికగన్న రాజకీయ పార్టీల నుంచి హేమీల్ లాంటి నాయకులు ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్కు హాజరయ్యారు. సీఎం రేవంత్ రెడ్డి ముఖ్య అతిథిగా హాజరై ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్ను జ్యోతి ప్రజ్వలన చేసి ప్రారంభించారు. దక్షిణాది రాష్ట్రాలకు రావాల్సిన హక్కుల గురించి బలంగా నినదించారు సీఎం రేవంత్ రెడ్డి. తెలంగాణలో కాంగ్రెస్ ప్రభుత్వం చేస్తున్న ప్రగతి పనులను వివరిస్తూనే ప్రధాని మోదీ, బీజేపీ టార్గెట్గా సీఎం రేవంత్ చేసిన ఆరోపణలు సమ్మిట్లో రాజకీయ వేడిని పుట్టించాయి.
Why America is having 35 crore population but the American economy is $25 trillion economy. Whereas China is $18.5 trillion economy. What about India? Bharat ne $3.5 trillion economy. Population wise we are the biggest country in the world. But economy wise we are lowest of this comparatively US or China. क्योंकि इस देश का कोई भी प्रधानमंत्री बनने के बाद
తెలంగాణ ప్రధాన ప్రతిపక్షమైన బీఆర్ఎస్ కూడా ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్లో తమ స్వరాన్ని బలంగా వినిపించింది. మాజీ మంత్రి, బీఆర్ఎస్ పార్టీ వర్కింగ్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ కేటీఆర్ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్కు హాజరై తమ పార్టీ మీద వస్తున్న ఆరోపణలను ఖండించారు.
टू मंतर कर देंगे और हर किसी को रईस बना देंगे. क्या हो गया? 100 दिन नहीं, आज तो 300 दिन हो गया. अब अगर हम पूछते हैं उनसे कि भाई क्या हो गया तुम्हारा 6 गारंटी. आपकी एक पिक्चर थी हाफ गर्लफ्रेंड. अब रेवंत रेड्डी का भी हालत वही है, हाफ गारंटी हो गया. 6 गारंटी हाफ गारंटी हो गया. तो इसलिए मैं कहता हूं टू फूल अराउंड, टू डिस्ट्रैक्ट, टू डाइवर्ट. क्या कर रहे हैं आजकल? एक चला दिया. क्या चीज? सोशल मीडिया में कैंपेन. टैपिंग हो गया, कलेश्वरम में स्कैम हो गया, फलाना हो गया, ठिकाना हो गया. अरे यार तुम्हारे पास सबूत है तो लगाओ ना केस. कौन रोक रहा है तुम्हें? तुम गवर्नमेंट में लगाओ. मैं पूछना चाहता हूं दिबांग जी, आज रेवंत से पूछना चाहता हूं, और अगर रेवंत में दम है तो हिम्मत है तो आगे आके सवाल का जवाब दे. आज रेवंत रेड्डी की गवर्नमेंट उनकी खुद की मिनिस्टरों की और मेरी फोन टैप कर रही है, नहीं कर रही है, उन्हें बताने को कह दीजिएगा. आज रेवंत रेड्डी गवर्नमेंट इस राज्य में, तेलंगाना में किस किस की फोन टैप कर रही है ऑपोजिशन में, गवर्नमेंट में, मैं भी जानता हूं, वो भी जानते हैं. मैं एक ही बात कहना चाहता हूं, कल हमारी गवर्नमेंट आएगी 3 साल बाद. आज जो हंसी मजाक के जरिए वो काम कर रहे हैं टैपिंग को लेके, ये उनके गले भी पड़ेगा, ये पक्की बात है. और दूसरी बात मैं कहना चाहता हूं, ऑपोजिशन में होके शोर शराबा मचाना, ऑपोजिशन में होके कुछ एक्यूजेशन, वाइल्ड एक्यूजेशन करना, वो एक तरीका है टू अट्रैक्ट अटेंशन, टू ड्रॉ अटेंशन. बट चीफ मिनिस्टर बनने के बाद हर दिन वही बकवास, वही बेवकूफ बातें, ये कहां की रीत है? ये गलत है. आप चीफ मिनिस्टर हो, चीफ मिनिस्टर नहीं तो ढंग का बात करो. हर जगह जहां जाते हो ठीक बात करो. अगर आपके बातों में दम है तो केस लगाओ. कौन रोक रहा है आपको? बिल्कुल लगाइए. वील फेस वॉट एवर कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस देयर आर.
Okay, whenever I meet the Chief Minister Revanth Reddy, I'll ask him this question. But now that you're here, I'm asking you, did you tap the phones of opposition leaders?
बिल्कुल नहीं किया. मैंने एक और बात भी मुझे कहना है. Government an institution. Government is an institution. There are numerous departments. And intelligence gathering is also an important institution. That is left to well-trained individuals, well-trained cops, who are extremely good at various tools of intelligence gathering, which has been happening since Nehruji's time, also continues in Narendra Modi's time, has been happening in Andhra Pradesh since 1956, continues today in Revanth Reddy's time also. So the question that you are asking, ki surveillance, tapping, etc., etc., all I'm saying is there are professionals There are professional agencies within the government which gather information. Now, how do they do it? The governments are not privy to it.
Intelligence gathering is fine. I'm asking you a straight question. Did you tap the phones of
Absolutely
opposition
not,
leaders?
but I'm asking you another question. Ask Revanth Reddy.
It's my day to ask the questions.
आप दिबंग हो, मैं दबंग हूं, मैं भी बोलूंगा, ठीक है? तो मैं यही बोलूंगा कि रेवंत रेड्डी जी आज उनके खुद के मिनिस्टर्स के, खुद के एमएलएस के और खुद ऑपोजिशन लीडर्स के फोन टैप कर रहे हैं. मैं आरोप लगा रहा हूं, आप उनसे पूछिए. मैं एक चीज आपको आज कहता हूं, मैं यहीं पे बैठूंगा, अगर आप यहीं पे हो कल तक, मैं यहीं पे बैठूंगा. लाई डिटेक्टर ला दीजिए, रेवंत को भी बुलाइए, मुझे भी बुलाइए. मैं लाई डिटेक्टर टेस्ट लूंगा खुलेआम लाइव कि हमने कभी फोन टैप नहीं किया. रेवंत को भी करने को बोलिए, मैं मान जाता हूं.
కేంద్ర పౌర విమానయాన శాఖ మంత్రి రామ్మోహన్ నాయుడు ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్కు హాజరై కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వ ఆలోచనలను పంచుకున్నారు. ప్రధానంగా ఇటీవలి కాలంలో విమానాలకు వస్తున్న బాంబు బెదిరింపుల ఫేక్ కాల్స్పై ప్రభుత్వం ఎలాంటి చర్యలు తీసుకోనుందో వివరించారు రామ్మోహన్ నాయుడు.
Hoax calls to all the airlines. What have you done about it? What are you planning to do about it? It's a very serious matter.
I know the hoax calls have been happening for the past 8 to 9 days and quite frequently, and we have been seeing it in the news also. But right from the first day itself when these hoax calls started, our Civil Aviation Ministry, in concurrence with the Home Affairs Ministry and Ministry of IT, who are the nodal ministries addressing this issue, and in fact External Affairs also, we have been sitting on top of the situation. We are trying to assess it, what exactly is happening. And one thing we have done is, from our side, Ministry of Civil Aviation, we have little bit dug deeper into the legislation that we already had, so that what best can we do to make this event stop. So one thing we felt was that if we catch hold of a person who is behind these kind of acts, then what do we do with him? So one thing we thought was, let us change the legislation a little bit, especially the aircraft security rules, so that we can put him in the no-fly list. So that is one for a beginning. And second, we have a Suvaska Act, which is the unlawful activities regarding civil aviation. And when we saw the act, it was covering these kind of offenses when they were in flight. So we wanted to extend it to on-ground flight and at airport flights also. So that is another legislation that we are proposing, and it is getting vetted by other ministerial consultations also. So I feel that these two are going to act as a deterrent when you try to find out the person who is behind this. And other than that, all the law enforcement agencies who are in this department, let it be the local police or let it be the Home Affairs, the Intelligence, the Ministry of IT, they are all kind of taking serious cognizance of this issue. And we are keeping the situation very dynamic. Day-to-day activities we are thoroughly following up, and we are trying to improvise on the kind of response system that we have. We are learning on the way, and when we see that, and one thing that I want to tell you, one fact that I want to tell you is that all these calls that have been made are hoax calls. So we are trying to see what kind of pattern emerges and what kind of responsive system we can have, with two considerations. One is to reduce the inconvenience of the passengers and reduce the inconvenience that the aircrafts or the airports are facing. So we are keeping a very dynamic view on this situation, and we are doing what best it is, and even the Prime Minister is encouraging us to handle this situation in a very good way.
Do we have any clue on who's making these calls? Where are they making these calls from? Why are they making these calls?
This has been thoroughly asked, and media talks about some kind of conspiracy, but as a minister, I would not like to comment on it unless we investigate thoroughly and the law enforcement agencies themselves come up with an idea saying that this is what has exactly happened. So until we have the investigation finished, a person caught or some organization, if it is behind this, until that happens, I don't want to comment on this now.
Are you also going through the laws in other countries for such hoax calls? Are you aware of them? Are you working on that?
Yes, absolutely. That is why I said the Ministry of External Affairs is also involved, because some of the international airlines are also facing these kind of threats. One thing I want to ensure is that we always keep, in the Ministry of Civil Aviation, we always keep the safety and security of the passengers the topmost priority. No matter how many times we see that these are hoax calls, even if our intuition says that 99.99% of it, this is a hoax call, we have to follow the protocol. That is something which we don't want to miss. So we have enhanced the security systems, we have enhanced the surveillance measures, everything at the airports double because there is a festive season happening, and we have seen repeated these calls also happening. So one thing is that we have improved the security at the airports, and for that we are taking in the support of all the other countries also. We are trying to see how best, because these some of the times they're putting these threats on Twitter. And most of the times when you follow the IP address, they come from some other countries. They can be masked also through VPN and everything. So it is important for us to talk to other countries also in these kind of situations.
ప్రాంతీయ పార్టీల తరహాలో జాతీయ పార్టీలు రాష్ట్రాల్లో అధికారానికి వచ్చినప్పుడు స్థానికంగా ఉన్న అంశాలను అర్థం చేసుకుని ప్రజల కోసం పనిచేయగలుగుతున్నాయా అన్న అంశంపై జరిగిన సదస్సులో బీజేపీ ఎంపీ రఘునందన్ రావు, కాంగ్రెస్ సీనియర్ నేత మధు యాస్కి పాల్గొని మాట్లాడారు.
The regional parties may raise the issue of the local issues, but ultimately who is the one who has to solve those issues? For example, Telangana was a movement which was built up by the parties, by the people, but ultimately a political party represented the same thing in the name of TRS. But who has given the solution for Telangana? The two national parties, with an understanding that it is the desire of the people of Telangana, it is the desire of the four crores of the people of Telangana. They can blame the national parties, they can try to get something, they can shout on certain issues which may be legally right, but the issue is from where does they get a solution? The solution should come from a national party or a party which is ruling this country. So for the sake of raising a voice against the nation or raising a voice against the party which is ruling in the center, the regional parties may be looking like good, but the thing when it comes to the country as a whole, the nation should have a national party which rules the country so that all the states will be given equal importance. It does not mean that when we are ruling in the center, we are taking part of only one state, sir. We look after from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, it is because we will consider it as a total body, sir. We will not give money to, as alleged by some of southern state chief ministers, that the money is being given to one state, money is not being given to another state. It will never be like that, sir.
Madhuji, why is it that if a regional party raises a demand, a legitimate demand, it's always seen as, like he said, raising a voice against the nation?
Well, this is the problem under Modi's government. Honorable Prime Minister is all by I, me, myself. Whoever speaks, they don't believe in the equal rights or freedom of speech. If you raise your voice for genuine concern, you think that you are speaking against the country or you are anti-national, you branded as anti-national. What is our democratic values teaches us? What is our constitution teaches us? India is thrived in the diverse democracy, different voice, language and political fabric which has created a strong democratic, being a largest democratic country. So in the last 10 years what's happening? A government by two, for two, run by two, sold for two people. That is in the last 10 years resulted. That's where the local aspirations are coming up and asking for an equal distribution of the wealth.
మహిళా నేతల అభిప్రాయాలకు వేదికగా నిలిచింది ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్. రాజకీయంగా వాళ్లకు ఉండాల్సిన హక్కులపై కాంగ్రెస్ నేత షామా మహ్మద్, బీజేపీ నేత మాధవీలత, టీడీపీ నేత జ్యోత్స్నా తిరునగరి, డీఎంకే ఎంపీ డాక్టర్ కణిమొళి తమ అభిప్రాయాలను షేర్ చేసుకున్నారు.
This is a very wrong notion.
No, this is very correct. आप मेरे घर आकर
I'm not going to accept.
Okay.
I'm a
was a joke.
dentist, but
Huh.
in dentists we don't have this much patriarchy as we have in politics. This unbelievable.
Yeah, dental patriarchy is not a term I've heard. Yes. Okay, ma'am.
See, me being a member of parliament, I'm still a practicing gynecologist. I'm a spokesperson. I'm a mother of two. I'm able to juggle behind all
How?
these things.
How?
How? Because we think tangentially. Men think one at a time. That is the problem. You can do only one at a time. We think tangentially in all parallels.
Oh.
Okay? Like how Shama said, I am sitting here, but still I think at the behind the mind, I have to go for my son's birthday. That is it. You are here, you will not think of your wife, you won't think of your kids. That is it. That makes us the leaders.
I'm trying to be focused.
So it is, you know, why you guys don't bring women to the stage? Because we would capture the whole stage and you would have no place on it. That's the way men put us back. That is how I look at it. Okay.
I'm just a moderator. Power to आप लोगों के पास है.
But I have to say the truth, no?
You know, but it's
Then
true.
I cannot be that.
No, I'm sure. And as I think you know this, that power, nobody gives you power.
So
You have to take it.
We take it. So that's the way we have to keep moving. So for the young girls also, yes, we can all come into politics, but educate yourself, that which nobody can take from you, and that will give you a place on the stage, is what is the message which have to be conveyed to the youngsters who's looking at this. And to my sister who has just put a question to me, see, 50% of reservation of work was given in police department by the Dravida Munnetra Karagam under the reign of Dr. Kalengar, which we should not forget. And we were the first person to bring 30% reservation in the local body elections for women, and we had done that also. Okay. And not only that, we have also gotten reservations for all the students, for the women students. And we have also brought in for the widowers to get money from the, all these were brought first by the DMK reign. And ma'am has spoken about so many riots and communal rights. Madam forgot to say about the 2002 Gujarat riots, which has taken a toll on us, and the Ayodhya temple, which took a toll on us, which we should not forget. If Madam had mentioned that, I would have been more happy on that too. Now, anyway, all the women on the stage, the question which was put up last by you is accepted by all of us, stating that, yes, women have to be more in the forefront, and please, men, give us some space to stand on the stage is what the request. I would put it across to you.
Okay, well put. Thank you. Ma'am, you'll have the last word and your comment on this.
The basic question was about whether women feel guilty when they get into politics for giving full time. That's actually the basic question was. So if you have, I have to answer this question, I'm a little different because for 21 or 22 years, I've been a homemaker with all my 3 children bringing up at home. And I always believed in one thing, it could be of any use to you or not, but I always believe that it's women who makes leaders. Even Shivaji also was made only by mother. So it's very important that I felt that women is such a superpower that she only can give good leaders to this country or to the world. So that portion of our responsibility is very, very vital. We often see very dynamic women, very dynamic men who have sacrificed themselves to the nation and for the good cause. But what happened to their children? Why is that genes not has been taken forward? And somebody who is capable of doing this as a Srishtikarta, as Brahma, is only women. So I know she has to undergo some amount of compromise. But who can think like her, like a mother for the nation, has to inculcate that seed within her children, is what I feel personally as a responsible woman. Now coming up, her difficulties to take up politics as a profession. I think similar issues are there with police officers also, because there's also a full-time job. Same issue even doctors have, because there's also a full-time job. What is very important that all of us have to understand that women have to come together to become as one fraternity, stand up for themselves. That's only speak up for our own selves, which is very, very important. My dear friend has just now told us that it's till 2010, the bill has never come. Who stopped Congress bringing the bill? Under the great leadership of Indira Gandhi ji, who herself is a woman, I think for 60 years, if people didn't act and people are questioning repeatedly what BJP is doing, then it's also time BJP questioned back that what did Congress do under the great leadership of a stalwart, legendary leader called Indira Gandhi ji. Maybe the women bill should have passed by then itself and made the country and the world feel proud that, you know, that women are very important for this nation. So it's nevertheless that who have done, who haven't done. It's a time that women all, irrespective of parties, irrespective of regions, come together to say that we make Bharat. So we all need that power to have the reservation, and especially freedom in politics. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I think we went over time a little bit, but it was totally worth it. We had some great insights from all of you, and we managed to agree on something, at least in the end. Thank you so much. Thank you.
హీరో సాయి దుర్గాతేజ్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్లో ప్రత్యేకంగా నిలిచింది. తన పేరును ఎందుకు మార్చుకున్నాడు, యాక్సిడెంట్ తర్వాత తిరిగి ఎలా రివైవ్ అయ్యారు, ఏంటి అనే అంశాలను చాలా ఎమోషనల్గా షేర్ చేసుకున్నారు సాయి దుర్గాతేజ్.
Change my name is because this is my second life.
Right.
And 2021 I was reborn again. So this time I'm with experience. And for a mother to go through whatever has happened, she actually was my biggest supporter, biggest pillar of strength. And she made sure that I actually recovered. And on the hospital bed, I couldn't tell her some things. Like, all I wanted to tell was, I'm sorry, Amma, I love you. My voice was lost. I lost my voice. I couldn't tell that. I couldn't tell my brother and my mother. So she was like, no worry, write down what we want to say. So for me to write down, I was like, it was going like ECG map.
Right.
Graph.
It was like that.
Yeah, like that.
You
I
had
couldn't-
lost.
I lost the whole stability of
Right.
my this thing. So, and then when I came out of the hospital bed, I lost my balance.
Oh,
So it was literally like my mother made sure that I grew up again
right.
in her guidance. So it was more of an emotional relation of me actually having my mother's name into my name.
Right.
So when I lost my voice, she made sure that I got my voice back. It's not like I lost my voice. It's just that the pipes which went down my throat because of I was in coma for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah. The doctor was like, he'll get up, he'll get up. But then it was something like very difficult for my mother to
Yeah,
take.
of course.
Yeah. And it's not like.
But the doctors believe that you had the will to fight.
Yeah. They thought that I will come out of it, but it will take some time.
Right.
So they didn't know what time it was. But then for me, it was more like 2 hours of sleep. But then I slept for like for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 14 days.
And when you woke up, like in the movies, मैं कहाँ हूँ?
That was in my head,
Sure.
but not outside. So, but the first thing I saw was my mother and my brother, and I couldn't talk. That's what I told you. I
Right.
couldn't tell them, I'm sorry and I love you guys. I couldn't say that. I was like, I'm sorry, I love you. It was like that.
Right.
So for me, it was more like reinventing myself and making sure that I actually give that inspiration to people that you can start off whenever, wherever you can again.
So you're a very emotional and sensitive person behind that
Yeah.
macho
That-
look, right?
I'm more of a fun person, so I always look at it that way. Macho and all that is only for the screen.
Right.
But for me, it's more of that I'm a kid in front of my mother, a friend for my friends, and an actor in front of all my
I
people.
think, yeah, we should
You should
applaud
be- you
that.
కేవలం సినీ రాజకీయాలే కాకుండా విభిన్న రంగాలకు చెందిన స్ఫూర్తిదాయక వ్యక్తుల అభిప్రాయాలను సదరన్ రైజింగ్ వేదికగా ఆవిష్కరించింది ఏబీపీ న్యూస్ నెట్వర్క్. ర్యాపిడో బైక్ ట్యాక్సీ ద్వారా సంచలనాలు సృష్టిస్తున్న తెలుగు తేజం అరవింద్ ర్యాపిడో జర్నీ ఏంటో షేర్ చేసుకున్నారు.
Rapido driver make bike, auto, car.
Yeah, so we see again one of the core philosophy of how we work is we want everyone to have their own flexibility on how they want to work on our platform, where they can work whenever they come, they can come anytime, they can leave anytime, and any number of hours in a day, etc. So a typical bike taxi captain make around 80 rupees per hour. An auto captain make around 120 rupees to cab around 150 to 160 rupees per hour.
Okay, so if they work 10 hours, then 800 rupees a day as a bike driver, 1200 as an auto driver.
Yeah.
And 1500 as a car driver. So you can make, if you're driving a cab, you can make 40-50,000 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good, I think.
Yeah, after the fuel cost.
Number. Question is, if a young person in India, young boy, young girl is watching this, and they want to be entrepreneurs, they want to be at least, even not a unicorn, but at least have their own startup, have a profitable company, and they don't know, nobody in their family has done business before. How would you tell them to get started?
Yeah, I think even when we have started, we didn't know anyone. We never know what to raise money means, how to take on incumbents, everything, no history, no friends who started the companies. But I think the biggest thing is your will to start. I mean, take that step of coming out of your comfort zone, and then definitely ask for help. I mean, I shamelessly asked help to a lot of people. I literally knocked the doors of people who can give us money. Literally knocked the doors, and literally went to alumni of different colleges and asked for the help, asked for hiring, asked for money. So I think taking help, and there are people who are willing to help you. It's just that you just need to reach out to them. So I think ask for help. Definitely people are there to help. First, take the first step towards coming out of your comfort zone, and you can figure out. Even our journey is like 10 years. First 2-3 years we also struggled, but now, yeah, maybe we made some mark.
Well, from that day to today, where you are a big company known for the valuation, and 9,000 crores from a first start to a trying to gather a few crores to get a startup. It's been a long journey, but it's actually not been that long. It's just been 10 years. But your name is Rapid, so Rapido. Thank you so much, Arvind,
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thanks, Chetan.
సైనా నెహ్వాల్, పివి సింధు లాంటి స్టార్ బ్యాడ్మింటన్ ప్లేయర్లను బ్యాడ్మింటన్కు పరిచయం చేసిన కోచ్ పుల్లెల గోపీచంద్ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్లో మాట్లాడారు.
Probably the only one which is actually teaching you about failure the best. A 10-year-old comes on the field and loses in front of people at a young age, and he gets up the next day morning to fight again. I think the seeds of fighting actually come from that perspective. The seeds of getting up after failure come up from there. So many sports persons are trained to deal with failure. They're trained to believe that they're going to win, which is actually in many times a cheat by itself. But they're also trained to actually get up each time. And I think that's a very important part of training which people go through day in and day out. And I think that keeps them in steadfast when they actually get to a point like this of absolute disappointment. They still get up and pick up their life together and start another day fresh, thinking that tomorrow will be different. And I think that madness is what is ingrained in a true sports person, and that is what actually Vinesh probably had to go through. For many of us who won't understand what 100 grams means, I think it's literally the first time you make it. You would see boxers, you would see wrestlers, judokas, weightlifters. They at the at the cafeteria or the food place at the Olympics, and you would see them. They never eat. It's not that they overeat, they never eat. They're probably eating 5 to 6 kishmish or dry fruit, and that's all they're eating. And literally, to put things in perspective, they would, like, they were to put me through a weightlifting or a boxing or a wrestler's diet plan, I would probably lose 8 kgs within 4 days. That's literally how much they would squeeze you. They're literally running, they're putting on jackets and running, they're on a bicycle cycling, and then they're drinking electrol and then throwing it off. They're not even getting to drink, and literally people would carry them out and stretch them because there's nothing left in their bodies. You're thinking there's something, there's not even. After spending hours in the gym and the sauna, they're probably sweating few drops. So they're almost like a dried fruit. They have nothing left. So I think there's a lot of torture which goes in a weight loss. And I'm sure she must have gone through hell to probably that night to actually lose that 300-400 grams. And that 100 probably was just not possible because there's nothing left in there to give up.
హిస్టోరియన్ విక్రమ్ సంపత్, థియేటర్ మూవీ ఆర్టిస్ట్ మహమ్మద్ అలీ బేగ్, ఫ్యాషన్ డిజైనర్ గౌరంగ్ షా, మ్యాప్ మైజిన్ CEO అను ఆచార్య, సిప్ అకాడమీ ఇండియా MD దినేష్ వెక్టర్ ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్లో తమ అభిప్రాయాలను షేర్ చేసుకున్నారు.
Reading this book last night was really an eye-opener. Because there are two things. One, Tipu has been so much a part of our popular culture with the sword and all that auction. And I remember the Vijay Mallya auction, and became such a big thing, the Doordarshan series. So to represent someone who's so much a part of popular culture, and people look at him in a particular way, what is the kind of documentation that you have to go through to sort of deconstruct the person?
Yeah, person like Tipu Sultan, and I'm really happy to have this first conversation around this new book which has not yet hit the stand,
Yes,
so
I
to
know.
say.
Yeah, so
and
we're
we've
lucky.
already gone for a reprint. So that's what my publishers told me. And so to have it in Hyderabad, because Hyderabad and its history is very closely intertwined to Tipu's story. And Hyderabad makes a lot of appearance in the book, considering the Nizam and he were
blow hot, blow cold, sometimes allies, sometimes friends and enemies and all of this. And 18th century India was a mishmash of so much of chaos. And I think it was the very defining century where India lost steam. And that is when we succumbed to final, colonial occupation of the country. So the book, its content, and the geographical context, all that becomes very important. To your question, Kaveri, I think Tipu, I know, is a very, in-your-face kind of a character, both in popular media, but more so, unfortunately, in politics. Because all sides of the spectrum use him to appropriate him for their own political agendas. I come from Karnataka, in Bangalore, where the Congress government there raised a lot of heckles by celebrating Tipu Jayanti, which caused a lot of anguish among several communities who to this day have intergenerational trauma and memories associated with whatever Tipu Sultan had done. And on the other side, you had even the BJP, which in the run-up to the 2023 elections manufactured this total myth of Uri Gowda and Nanje Gowda, two people who they claimed were responsible for killing Tipu Sultan, something that no Mysore historian, British or otherwise, had even mentioned their name. And what was the reason to do that? You eulogize a Gowda chieftain and you get the Vokkaliga vote in Karnataka elections, which sadly backfired on them. So in the midst of this, where history becomes such a handmaiden for politics and for ulterior motives, I think it is the responsibility of a historian to put things in perspective, illuminate the archives, and bring them to public perception. Because the public is not generally so interested to go to all the papers. So for this book, I actually spent 4 long years rummaging archives both in India and more so outside, in France and in London. The British kept copious documents and documentation, so that also comes very handy. Lot of literature in Indian regional languages, Kannada, Marathi, the Peshwa daftars, which had a lot of documentation. So there's never a dearth of documentation. It just needs somebody who can go and tie that all together in an interesting narrative.
That, in recent years, I think especially after COVID, we've seen a rise in how aware people want to be about their bodies, how they are focusing on health and fitness. Has that sort of helped your business grow?
Absolutely. I think it also helped that people knew what DNA was, what RNA was. I think every day on TV, if you heard DNA and you heard saliva, like you heard about a swab. So suddenly after COVID, you didn't have to explain to people what is a swab, right? Because the only thing you have to tell is you're not going to shove it down your nose or your throat. We're going to just get it gently from your cheeks. So it definitely helped in just this basic logistics. But the second thing is that people started hearing all these stories about young people dying of a heart attack and others.
A lot of anecdotal incidents like that, yes.
Many. There have been a lot of rise, and I think people also realize that there are solutions to that. I think it's not enough to know that this happens, but I think what is interesting for people is to say, if we know, can we prevent? And I think COVID really helped because it helps in introspecting and finding out who you are, and therefore we saw that huge change in behavior.
Let's focus a little bit on you as an entrepreneur. I think the fact that you entered genome testing in India at a time when there was even little, awareness around it, you've kind of gone in category creation, right? Which is challenging for any entrepreneur, but in an industry like this, perhaps even more challenging. So tell me why you took the decision to go this way, go this route.
I think, taking risk is in my genes. and I constantly was telling someone about how I write in the night, to understand who I am, right? And if you go through your journey from when you are a child, you can start seeing those behavior. If you write it down, you map it, you will be able to see, what kind of a person you are. And I think that's what I realized, right? Like I enjoy doing new things. And I think that love for this curiosity, I think all of that came from my dad and I'm sure, and my mom as well. My dad was a scientist, so I think constantly did new things, and that joy of creating something, the joy of finding something new was always exciting for me. So I think when we started in 2000, I really didn't know much. I came from IIT Kharagpur. We had worked for a startup, and when we heard that this bioinformatics, and Google wasn't even there, Um, I found that fascinating. The fact that you can decode your software, your own software, I think for me was, that challenge is very exciting. So I think, I think if I did something more standard, I would get bored. But there are many others who probably that doesn't work for them. So it depends. I enjoy roller coasters. Not everybody does, right? So
It's beautiful about your work, right? He literally can bring weaves from any part of the country and put them together in a way that only he can. That is now your signature. That's what your customer is coming to you for. So tell me how, I mean, ये mix match क्योंकि पहले साड़ी और blouse करते थे. Is it
So
because of that?
I do fusion of different weaves, I can do hand paint textures on a different weave, I can do embroideries. It's just that मुझे ये है कि I need to sustain, my weavers need to sustain, and ये जो धरोहर है हमारी जो इतने पुरखों से आ रही है हमारी, I don't want it to get lost.
Right.
People tell, कभी भी बात होती है हैंडलूम की, पीपल से वीवर को काम नहीं मिलता है, वीवर सुसाइड कर रहे हैं, उनको कोई काम नहीं ले, कोई हैंडलूम की साड़ी नहीं खरीदता है. दैट्स ऑल रॉन्ग थिंग्स व्हाट इज गोइंग स्प्रेडिंग अराउंड. वीवर्स आर देयर, यू नीड टू गिव देम वर्क, यू नीड टू कम अप विथ आइडियाज. वीवर का काम है वीविंग करना, उसका काम डिजाइनिंग करना नहीं है. डिजाइनिंग हम देंगे, हमारा मार्केटिंग हम करेंगे, वीवर अपने लूम पे बैठ के वीव करेगा और हम उनको आगे लेके जाएंगे साथ में.
Right. आपने काफी जगह इन्वेस्ट भी किया है. आई थिंक यू पुट अप योर ओन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट एज वेल, एंड आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ इज दैट बीन एज अ बिजनेस डिसीजन फॉर यू, बिकॉज of course, you know, there is the art part of it, but running a label is also a business decision. So take me through if that's actually resulted in an improvement in your goals.
So generally any village you go to, the weaving sector you go to, हर weaver के घर में उसका loom है, घर में बैठ के weave कर रहा है. Those are the traditional weavers who have been weaving since their ancestors. I needed to get in more weavers because that was not sufficient for me. तो हमने क्या किया, वो गांव के जो विमेन हैं, स्पेशली विमेन, यहाँ पे मेल नहीं, विमेन, हमने विमेन को ट्रेन किया है, हु हैव नेवर बीन फ्रॉम एनी वीवर फैमिली, एनी वीवर कम्युनिटी. दे वेर वर्किंग एज लेबरर्स इन फील्ड्स या सब्जी बेचती थी. हमने उनको जमा किया, एक फैसिलिटी तैयार किया, वहाँ पे वी हैव ट्रेन देम, एंड उनके लिए फिर एक बड़ी फैसिलिटी किया प्रोडक्शन करने के लिए, बिकॉज उनके घर इतने छोटे से हैं और उनकी फैमिली कभी अलाउ भी नहीं करती कि मेरे घर पे हम वीवर को रखें और लूम लगाएं और काम करें. तो हमने क्या किया, एक पूरा एक फैसिलिटी तैयार किया, एंड फॉर मी टू मॉनिटर ऑल्सो बिकम्स ईजी. ये क्या होता है, छोटे छोटे गांव पॉकेट्स होते हैं. आई कांट कीप गोइंग टू ईच एंड एवरी वीवर्स हाउस टू मॉनिटर कि कितना काम हो रहा है. सो इट बिकम्स ईजियर कि हम सब लोगों को एक जगह एक शेड में काम करते हैं. उसमें एक और काम एडवांटेज हमारा हो जाता है, आई गेट वीवर्स फ्रॉम डिफरेंट अदर सेक्टर्स to come and train them into different techniques also. So for that also it becomes easy. We do regular training sessions, and it becomes like a whole textile hub of India. I try to get it into this community.
Well, that sounds wonderful, and you're obviously empowering a lot of communities through that. Welcome, Mr. Victor. Thank you for joining us today. Now, you're of course an entrepreneur who has built an empire of sorts, I think. 21 years ago you started, and I think now you have over 1,100 branches. I'm sure that was not the plan when you started, but how has it evolved over the years, and when did you realize that it can be this big?
Firstly, thank you, Radhika, and thank you, ABP, for inviting me here. See, when we started, or when I started this, I really didn't think so much about the size, but I really thought more about making an impact. And I knew that if you make an impact, size will follow. And we are very fortunate to be in India. It's the largest population in the world, so there's no problem with the market. So it's only a question of doing something right and getting that model right in the early phase. And if you ask me, the first maybe the 6-7 years of we started was really getting the model right in terms of the quality delivery.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge challenge in any business, and especially more so in a service business. You can get a lot more easily things right in a product business because you just have to get the factory part right. And you just have maybe 1 or 2 factories, so it's kind of easy to control. But in a service business, it's extremely hard because you've got it running across so many different centers, and what your teachers do every week is the quality. How do you manage that? So that took a long time for me to figure it out and get that right. And then once we got that right, it was only a question of simple math. You've got so many children in this country, so it's going to scale up.
You're skipping the operative part. Once you got it right, so how did you get it right? I think that's the question. You know, there are a lot of
We've got only
entrepreneurs.
15 minutes here, so.
But perhaps the
Okay.
2 or 3 big errors you made and then rectified.
Okay, I think there are lots of errors you make as you go along in any business, but I wouldn't say they're errors as much as they are learning processes which every entrepreneur would go through, anybody running a business would go through. So let me tell you, the first thing is initially we didn't realize the importance of quality so much in the first phase. Actually, I ran this in 2 phases. So one is when I started this, but I had run about a year and a half before that. And at that phase, we didn't realize the importance of quality so much. But when I ran it the second time, I really understood that it is so much more important. So the first thing we did was, I spent personally a lot more time on quality than on marketing. I mean, just to put it in a very broad form. And getting the process right of quality required you to actually sit down with your team, the trainers basically, and have a small group of trainers initially and ensure you have a documented process for each day of training. And that's a very basic thing, but it took a lot of effort to get that right. And ensure that, how do you ensure that simple thing is delivered with the teachers everywhere? So we went to, as I would say, mundane things like getting a photocopy of the teacher's notes to see whether the trainer has done the right amount of training as much as expected. So like as mundane things like that. But sometimes the mundane things are the more powerful things in the long run. You don't have to do jazzy things sometimes to do well. You need to do the simple things, but do them consistently and do them. And you just need simple ideas sometimes. You don't need complicated ideas to do well. So we just figured out simple ideas to ensure quality is done right. And how do we scale that up? So other simple idea is, I mean, it's a simple looking back, but at that point of time, it wasn't simple. Like, to become a trainer, it was not easy in our system. So to give you a simple example, we started off in, let's say, Chennai, and if I have to start a training in Hyderabad, so one couldn't just make a trainer in Hyderabad, and we had to do the training in Hyderabad. So we would fly down or, send somebody by train from Chennai and get the training done, not just for the first or second training, but maybe for the whole year or maybe even for 2 years.
Right.
And that kind of investment in training, most people don't usually do. And I think those are the things which actually, looking back, helped us get the quality right. So it was, again, simple, mundane things, but just done that over consistently.
Right, but education, you're you're touching children's lives on a daily basis, and one aspect is, of course, getting the training of the teachers right. But when the business is as scaled and as spread out, 1,100 branches, what kind of quality checks do you continue to make?
So you just do the same things over scale. So the challenge is, how do you do that? You just have to build people who are passionate and who can scale that up. And if you can't scale it up, don't scale your business. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you can't get that right, don't grow your business there. So it was a little bit of a discipline to get that right. Only then you scale your business.
Right.
And sometimes if you're scaling it too fast, slow it down so that you can get the quality right. So again, simple things, but not everybody actually takes that very seriously.
But so, of course, each company has a different policy in terms of how they would pick up a franchisee. But for example, what are the top 3 green tick marks when you see an application of a franchisee? And
Again,
the 3 red flags as well.
So let me tell you, when we started off the business, it was very simple. Anybody wants to start a franchise, he could start because we were starting it off. So if anyone is starting a business, anybody who believes in you, wants to take your ideas, you'll have to go with that. But as you go along, you refine your ideas because you figure it out, these people don't do things so well, this profile doesn't work. So each of you have your own data. So for us, when we look back on when we have it today, maybe in 5 years we may have a different model. But right now, our model is reasonably simple and straightforward. Any person who wants to give full time has a certain amount of capital and certain amount of experience, either it's working or maybe run a small business. That's it.
And red flags.
Very honestly, we don't have too many red flags except time. The person should not be doing multiple things. The person should be willing to get fully involved. So one is willing, because education is a business where you need to be involved. You can't run it remotely.
Right.
And there is an element of passion in getting children right. You can't, there's an element of time and passion. So we want people, that's it. So it's a very simple thing. You need to be, but it looks simple, but it's not easy. But getting people to spend time on a Saturday, Sunday, year after month, year after year is not easy.
Yeah.
So getting people who want to spend that, because that's the only time kids are free to come to class. So getting people who can give the time and willing to sacrifice their weekends month after month, year after year is not that easy. Especially, another thing I can tell you is we've got about 1100 plus franchisees, but you'll be surprised to know that more than 1,000 of them are women.
Wonderful.
So
Is that by plan, by design?
I think it's a mix of both. In the early phase, we got a lot more women because it looked part-time, just working on weekends, so it was easier to get. But over time, it became logical also because parents who want to put their little kids to a center to learn, they would trust a woman more than a man.
Sure.
But lately, we've got a lot more women coming in. But that's a little bit to digress. But you can imagine in India to get women to spend Saturday, Sundays out of home and not cook food for their husbands when they're at home, because that's the time they're at home, is not very easy.
Of course.
Because obviously husbands say that usually that they would expect their wives to be at home when they're at home. But to get that in the initial phase was little challenging, and it still is challenging in many parts of the country. But over time, we've kind of slowly built that up. So when you say red flag, just the time is the red flag for us.
Right. So
one of the criteria when you choose a play is whether it blends well with the city or not. How do you choose which play to do? Do you have that in mind when you're choosing to do a play?
I don't pick plays off the shelf to do it. I don't connect with them, and I feel that as a theatre maker, as a theatre director, if I can't connect with a certain piece of writing, how would I make my audience connect with it? It's very important that you have a certain belief system, and I'm not talking of ideologies here, a certain conviction to what you present on stage. So what we do is we write plays, though they are history based, they are heritage based, the premise is historical, for the present generation. So my wife writes it, Noor Begu sitting here, plays Baba had written, plays that we have written together, plays translated by late Khadij Zama Sahab. I read a monologue from one of his plays which is about the city. So what is important for me, and what many theatre makers, filmmakers forget, is that in a visual medium, you're talking to audience. It's theatre, it's cinema, it's television. It's not a piece of art. It's not painting that you do for months and hang it in your living room and 5 of your friends see and say, wow, wow, kamal kar diya. It's for audience. And if I sit on a high horse and say, 8 people sitting here are the intellectual lot who would connect with my theatre and others are politicians, IT guys and all, I'm mistaken. As a theatre maker, I need to communicate with 90% of people sitting in this auditorium. And that's where I pitch my theatre. Theatre has to connect with the audience. Today, at the touch of a smartphone, you have every form of entertainment, every form of infotainment, sitting at home, sitting in your car, sitting in a metro, sitting at your office. If the audience takes the trouble of coming to the venue, spending an hour, driving an hour back, spending hour and a half, couple of hours at the venue, devoting 3 to 4 hours of your time for you, you better respect their time. You better respect their presence as theatre maker. Don't take them for granted. At the same time, don't sell out and don't sell to galleries. So you have to have that fine blend of intellectualism, of art and commerce, which Baba had done, which I base my theatre on. So you have to connect. We do Kholi Dilon Ka Shehzada, which is a love story of 17th century. But we do it for today's audience because it has to connect with people, like an ad film. You can't say, oh, I made a humorous film, but he doesn't have a sense of humor. He lacks sense of humor. You better, cater to them.
Yeah.
So that's where I pitch my theatre, and that's why Touchwood, it's sort of a brand today.
Yeah, you talked about technology. We will come talk about technology and modern life later. But what I want to know is that when you do theatre at such a grand scale, do you think people criticize you to say that his theatre is just spectacle, nothing else? Meat nahi hai, usme sirf dikhawa hai. What do you face that kind of criticism?
To each his own. अगर आप ये समझते हैं कि एक मारुति 800 ही गाड़ी है, ऑटोमोबाइल है, और कोई आपकी बेंटली या में बात ऑटोमोबाइल नहीं है या दिखावा है, आई एम सेइंग टू ईच हिज ओन. इट्स व्हाट यू कैन पिच टू योर ऑडियंस, इट्स व्हाट यू कैन क्रिएट एज अ थिएटर मेकर. आपका फोते क्या है, उस हिसाब से आप थिएटर करेंगे. I mean, people label it as page 3 theatre, as designer theatre. In fact, when we started Khader Libek Theatre Foundation to revive theatre as a tribute to Baba, many people came to me and said, why are you flogging a dead horse? Theatre तो ख़त्म हो चुकी है, अभी YouTube आ रहा है और फला इतने channels आ गए हैं. Same people come now backstage and thank us. You know, and you know what's fulfilling is when I go to these universities or colleges and schools, they invite me for their annual days. From the time when theatre or performing arts was extracurricular, to parents coming up and saying, sir, this is my son Rahul, this is my daughter Najma, tell me how do they grow up to be like you? And that's completely, flattering, that's completely fulfilling. Because I'm not a Bollywood star, I'm not a IPL icon. To be able to get 1,500 people, 200, 1,200 people when we open a show at Golconda Fort or Chomola Palace, people buying tickets, driving all the way, coming, is because they value what we're giving them, because it's theatre. अब आप कहिए उसको पेज 3 थिएटर है या ब्रांड है या डिज़ाइनर थिएटर है, it's a compliment. I mean, I feel nice when people dress up. People are in their Gucci's and Pradas, driving their Bentleys and Prados and coming to watch my theatre. I mean, why not?
And buying tickets for your place.
Buying tickets and asking, lining up for invites. It complements theatre.
So modern life, forever moving faster, scattered, more scattered. It drives away concentration, and technology is blamed for that. Do you face this challenge where people can just watch things in 20 seconds? There's TikTok, there's YouTube, there is OTT. Is it a challenge for you as a theatre director?
It is. As I said, you need to not let people shy away from coming to your shows. As I said, there's everything available at home, at workplace, in your car, in public transport systems. They look for that intellectual stimulation, and hence they come and watch theatre. You see everything available. If you look at cuisine, if you look at any culinary delight, it's available today. You can make it in few minutes. You can microwave them, right? You can order them on your food apps. But why do you, talking of biryani, why do you spend 4-6 hours making biryani or anything else? Because you want to experience, you want that experience, you want to feel that experience. Theatre is something like that.
What would you say to people, who say that language itself is dying today? You exchange messages, and messages you don't even write the full words, you just do emojis. It's, as if we are in the cave age.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, heartbreak, smiley, applaud.
You send someone a very serious message of someone passing away, and then they say RIP. That's it. I'm on the way. Okay. As I said, literature, performing arts needs to be taken beyond the niche audience. and it's up to theatre makers, to writers, up to filmmakers to make it more palatable. I mean, there's that divide in cinema, which is commercial, which is art or art house. The similar divide in theatre, which sells to galleries, which sells to front benchers, and some which is completely art house stuff. But when you do a blend of both, that's where you meet the trend.
But for this,
జనరల్గా డ్యాన్స్ గురించి అంతా చేసి చూపిస్తారు, కానీ డ్యాన్స్ను అందులో ఉండే మూమెంట్స్ను ఎవరైనా వివరిస్తే సదరన రైజ్ సమ్మిట్లో యామిని రెడ్డి అదే చేసి చూపించారు. డ్యాన్స్ను అందులో ఉండే మూమెంట్స్ను యామిని ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశారు.
Lovely, because you are kind of passing on the traditional art form with the contemporary sensibility to the next generations as well, because I know that you teach the dance form as well. How do you teach the language of Kuchipudi to your students?
So Kuchipudi, or any classical form for that matter, it's a very arduous training. It takes many, many years to learn it and then master it, of course. So I try to make this art form relevant to the younger generation so that they enjoy it when they are performing. I have a little surprise for you.
Okay.
So I have requested some of my disciples. It's very impromptu.
Oh, how
I've
lovely.
asked them to join me. I just want to give you a little demo about how our training begins in Kuchipudi. So I would like
It'll
to...
be wonderful. Let's welcome the students.
So as you see, the audience, when we go to school, the first thing that we learn are alphabets, right? So in Kuchipudi also we have alphabets. And we learn first, begin with positions of the feet, leg, hands. So for instance, they're standing in Samapadam. Then we have a position on the heel, Anchitam. We have a position on the toe, Kunchitam. On toe, and then Swastikam, cross. So these positions we then combine to form aduvus, which we call as words in our style. So for instance, now when they'll combine those positions, they'll show you a few aduvus. Takka dhinna tom, takka dhinna tom, takka dhinna tei hi. Hi da, tam, tat tei, tei hitta tam, tei hi. Hi da, tam, tat tei, tei hitta tam, tam tei hi. Hi da atta am tat tei, tei hitta ta am tei hi. Hi da atta am tat tei, tei hitta ta am ta. So this is how we combine.
Beautifully done. Thank you. Thank you.
So after words, we have sentences.
Okay.
So when we put it together in a sentence, for instance, ditta, dimita, kitataka, talangutaka, dimitaka, tadinginatum, ta. Now that's a sentence in dance. So visually when you see it in dance, the same thing. Takadinatum, takadinatum, takadina, ditta, dimita, kitataka, talangutaka, dimitaka, tadinginatum, ta. So can you guess what came at the end of the sentence? The full stop. So in dance, the ta was the full stop. So it's very grammatical and it's very nuanced, the
And
training.
it's beautiful, and I can tell why it takes so much dedication and time to learn this language of Kuchipudi.
Yes, in fact, what you just saw is pure dance on Nritta. And I wanted to show you a small glimpse. I have requested Ravi Kant here to join us, just to give you a glimpse of, I think all of you might be knowing that Kuchipudi uses Telugu and Sanskrit verses.
Yes.
And the system of music that we use for our dance is the Carnatic system of music, right? It's the southern Carnatic style of music. So here the pure dance, when it is done, this is Ravi Kant, and he will be, the dancers will dance, and you can see how melodious notes, rhythmic patterns, and beautiful gestures are used to create a magical world of dance. takadina tum, takadina tum, takadina, takita, 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 takadimi, taka, digi, janu, tadikita tum, taka, digi, janu, tadikita tum, taka, digi, janu, tadikita tum, ditta, dimita, kita taka talangu, taka dimi, taka tadingina tum, ditta, dimita, kita taka talangu, taka dimi, taka tadingina tum, ditta, dimita, dimita, kita, ditta, dimita, dimita, kita, ditta, dimita, dimita, kita taka, tadigina tum, tadingina tum, tadingina tum, tajum, tajum, tajum.
Tari taku tari ta dana ta janu tajum tarau takatari ta tadigina ta ta hari jam taka nam tari ta ta hari jayam taka nam tari taku tari ta dana ta janu tajum tarau taka tari ta tadigina ta ta hari jam taka nam tari ta ta hari jayam taka nam tari taku tari ta dana ta janu tajum tarum taka tari ta tadigina ta
tajum, 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 tatajje. So Radhika, what you just saw is pure dance. There is no storytelling. There is no meaning. It's
But
just
to us watching, and I couldn't even see their faces properly because I'm sitting behind, but just the expressions, right? The beautiful movement of the eyes. So much of it is about storytelling, right?
Yes.
How are you able to pass that down? Because the expressions remain consistent, right? Through the ages.
So what you just saw was pure dance, nritta, where there is no storytelling. But dance has its own language as gestures, which we call as hastas or mudras. For example, when we want to show a deer, we'll use the simha mukha hasta. Okay? So when we want to show a bell or a flower, we also use this kangulascha or an ala padma. And for a bee, we use brahmari hasta.
You make it sound so easy.
So these gestures, we develop this language of gestures, and then we use these to tell stories. So once again, I'm going to call them. It's a very interesting piece where I'm going to show you how we use these gestures. So I'm going to narrate in English, and they're going to do the hastas in dance here.
Dance.
So this is a story of Gajendra, an elephant, who was roaming in a forest and he's caught by the crocodile. So it's a story from the Bhagavatam. There was a forest. There were different kinds of flowers in the forest. One day, an elephant was roaming in the forest. Dhim tadhi tajanu tadhanatta natta janu tam taritta janu takadinatum takadinatum takadinata. There was a lake in the forest. The elephant stepped into the lake to drink water, but the frogs in the lake started croaking. Nagana, naga, naga, nagana, naga, naga, nagana, naga, naga, nagam. There was a crocodile in the lake. Digi, 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 digi. There was a fight between the elephant and the crocodile. Digi, 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 ta. Digi, 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 tay. Digi, 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 ta. Digi 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 day. The elephant was caught. He prayed to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu threw his chakra and killed the crocodile. The elephant was now free to roam the forest. So as you can see, this was a short story. And the use of hastas and gestures to communicate, this has been coming from the time of the Rig Veda, and then it has been slowly developed and adapted towards dance, and dance then became more complex.
బిందు సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం ఫ్యూజన్ గురించి మాట్లాడారు.
Absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I don't think we should send your colleague away just yet. Yeah, so this was absolutely beautiful. And tell us a little bit more about this song and why you love it so much.
I think as an artist, it's always really fun to be able to find different genres to play in. So one thing about jazz is that it kind of allows you to be creative. And even if you're saying the same words, the spacing can be a little different, or the way that you feel it, right? And a lot of that also comes from the space and the audience that you're with. So if we were to do this in a large open air thing with drums and bass, and it could be a totally different song. But in this context, it's a nice, very intimate, fun song.
And what's a song that you love teaching your students at the academy?
So the first song that we did is very popular with students at the academy. A lot of the other songs that we do sort of depend on the age. So for example, when we start working with very young kids, we do a lot of lullabies. And I think that that's intentional because you talk about cultural sensitivity, cultural familiarity, cultural curiosity, and that comes from not looking at somebody else as other, right? So if you were to tell kids, this is a song that a mother in Africa sings to her, just like your mother sings to you, then you start with a feeling of familiarity. And so lullabies are great. And then when you get a little older, you find kids fascinated by more rhythmic things. You find kids that, in middle school and high school wanting to write their own raps and communicate. And
so it seems to me that at the academy, it's encouraged to join the dots, join the globe, looking at the different kind of music that may be coming from that region.
Absolutely, because I don't think we're just teaching music. I think we're working with young people in order to create a more aware generation, right? We want the next generation to be better than what we are, more culture. We want them to be leaders, right? When you look at so many companies around the world being headed by people from the Indian diaspora, people of Indian origin, and when they go out into the world as leaders, their culture or their awareness of other cultures is something that we want them to carry with them. So I think that's the context in which they should understand and appreciate music. It's not necessarily to be a musician, but to have that with you.
You also, I think, collaborated with Mahesh, and that collaboration also, took off really well. Mahesh, by the way, was here at the Southern Rising Summit last year. So the East meets West fusion music, is that something that you feel has got a fillip just because there is social media and people from different regions are sitting in different parts of the world and enjoying that fusion?
I think there has been an audience for fusion for the last 40 or 50 years. I mean, like my dad was doing fusion in the 70s, and I think coined the term global fusion. And it's always been interesting to see the interplay of Indian music with different styles. Working with Mahesh and sort of creating the Textile project with him and Ambi and Akshay has really been fun for us, because what is new is this idea of electronica and classical music and different languages. And so it's always fun for us to see how we can play in different spaces. Even, for example, when you don't understand the language, how do you communicate in a language that you don't understand? So.
Absolutely. So is there an example of East meets West that we could perhaps sample now?
Sure. Maybe we'll do a song which is, you may have, if you're a Netflix person, you may know this song, but that's all I'm going to preface it with. Okay. And it's a song in a language that I don't understand, and it's actually a song of protest, which most of us don't realize, but it's to me a really fun song.
Okay.
డైరెక్టర్ చిదంబరం, హీరోయిన్ రాశికన్నా, విలక్షణ్ నటుడు ప్రకాష్ రాజ్, గౌతమి ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైస్ సమ్మిట్లో సినిమా అంటే తమకున్న ప్రేమ గురించి చెప్పారు.
I was just telling him a little while ago that this topic should have been just asking, right? I missed that big miss. But why do you ask so many questions, Prakash? What makes you so curious?
There's so many answers not answered, no? So you need to ask questions.
But what makes you so, so active on Twitter, so engaged with the world, so engaged with your art, and yet be able to commit to what's happening around you? Not every artist is like this, unfortunately.
Because I am alive. And it's very easy to flow with the flow. Even a dead fish can go.
Yeah.
But to swim against, you have to be alive.
Right.
I am alive.
Yeah. And I think it's also a way for you to demonstrate to yourself that this is what I believe in, this is what I stand for, at a time when there are decreasing numbers of people like you.
It's very important because, especially because I'm an artist, and I believe that I have not reached where I have or on a stage just because of my talent. It's because of the love of the people, the investment of the society, the writers, the journeys which chiseled me. And I think it's my responsibility for the trust they have in me to be a voice to those who can't speak as loudly as me. So it's a conscious effort. It is my conscience which says that you need not be silent. You should not be silent, because I strongly believe history may forget who has committed crimes, but history will never forgive those who were silent.
Right.
I don't want to be silent.
Right. What was your experience as a actual political candidate this time? I mean, you didn't just talk, but you actually walked the talk. What was that experience like?
You see, when I was in college and when I came out and when I was in theatre in Karnataka, I had this great opportunity to meet a lot of writers, thinkers, and my mentors were such, like Tejasvi from Karnataka, Kuvempu, who's a Jnanapith Award winner, a great poet, Lankesh, who was a great editor, who was this thing. So we were politically very strong then. Even we used to do a lot of theatre, street theatres, and we used art, because I'm one of those guys who doesn't believe that art is for art's sake.
Right.
There's a very interesting Palestinian poem. The recent poem I would like to tell you is, somebody asked the poet that why is there so much politics in your poetry? And he says, if I have to write beauty in my poetry, I need to listen to the birds. And in order to listen to the birds, the roaring sound of the warplane should be silenced. So when I'm hearing the roaring sounds of warplanes, naturally there will be politics. So I'm chiseled that way. And over the years, as I was growing, when I saw my friend, a co-traveler, Gauri Lankesh, the daughter of my mentor, when she's shot.
Just for speaking?
Just for speaking. So I said, when I was burying her, I said, I am not burying her, I am sowing her, to let the world realize that when you bury a voice, a stronger voice will be born.
Wow.
And that's my journey, yeah.
Yeah, I think we should applaud that. But, that was a very painful period. Personally, otherwise, you've also suffered a personal loss, I know, of your firstborn, I think, which I cannot imagine what that must feel like. But there's so much pain that you've seen also,
Why don't you look at it? I'm richer with pain too.
Yeah.
Okay, pain is a very personal thing, whether it is my friend Gauri or my son Siddharth. But then I just can't become selfish. I have daughters, I have family, I have a profession, I have people. As a human being, I have a life, and I am accountable for that too. I would rather share my joys than my pain, because it is a personal pain and I don't want to brood on it.
Right.
Some wounds are deeper than flesh,
and
I think you need to live with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there must be some moments where you just...
I'm human. It
Yeah.
disturbs me, it hurts me, it makes me feel very helpless. But then, let's find reasons to live. Death is eventually there,
Right.
always, yeah.
Let's talk about your work because I think I feel you're one of our finest actors, but a lot of Hindi cinema goers only know of you as this larger than life villain, you know. And I remember once Salman Khan told me that the villain always has to be larger and bigger than the hero, otherwise there's no fun in bashing him up. Is that? But your body of work is tremendous. I mean, and I don't think anyone can surpass what you did in Iruvur. I think Gautami will agree with it as well.
You did a wonderful film.
Yeah. So, that kind of cinema that you do, and then you also do the more popular one, popular work. Does it take a tonal shift? How do you
you should look at
walk
it
across and do everything?
where you're working, in an Indian theatre or cinema scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, both are audiences, a different entertaining element. I think actor, you just can't be arrogant and say, I'll do only art cinema, I'll
Right.
not do commercial cinema. I can do a Kanjivaram, I can do an Iruvur, I can do Singham, I can do Okadu, and I should be able to do. I'm an actor. Some are loud, some are subtle, and that's how you'll survive in this country. And I find all audience the same, and I find different genres to do. And thanks to my directors and the audience who have given me the license that you do whatever you want, we are going to watch you.
Right. I mean, you have a huge fan base, right? What are the most amazing things you've heard or the most amazing fans you've met who've told you things that have said that you have even surprised you?
A lot of films like, they still call me Challam in Tamil Nadu.
Acha.
And I'm so surprised, when the Challam, the Gilli was done, the same time as Okadu, those youngsters have not even born. But I
Right.
love the way it has carried on. And a film like Iruvur, a film like Bomarillu, a film like, Singham. I've been lucky to have been with certain iconic films, and when they call you through your character, the minute they see you, there's a big smile on their face.
Yeah.
And it's 30 years of body of work, and I'm very, very happy and proud of that journey. And I just see love everywhere.
Right. And the directors you worked with. Some amazing guys, right?
Amazing guys, from Balachandar sir, Maniratnam to Krishna Vamshi, a lot of people, many,
Right.
many directors, Vetrimaran.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been lucky because I've been in different languages that I have been able to see many rivers within me, and since I speak a lot of languages, the literature has come to me. I read poetry and I have a lot of poets and friends. So it has enriched me, and I'm so thankful that they think that I'm still relevant.
It was quite a dress down. Like today, you're in a made up, and like in that trailer, you're looking very like a journalists are, right? They're not like going on with a lot of makeup and things like that. Do you have to dress down for the film?
When you can see me as the character, my job is done. So if you can see me as the journalist in the film, then I think my job is done, because a lot of times I've been told that that the way I look sort of overpowers the character. I'm glad that people are seeing that side of me where, there is an actor inside me, and I was given the opportunity to play a journalist, which is not very easy to get, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I almost couldn't recognize you from the trailer to this person, two different people.
But that's great, right? Like we should be able to look different paths.
हाँ. Now Rashi, ये जो खन्ना नाम है, ये तो proper पंजाबी होता है. एक जगह है खन्ना पंजाब में, and you are like the queen of Telugu, and of course you've done various languages. So how is that? Like, how does that work? You're from Delhi, from what I understand. You're from
Yes.
Delhi, like West Delhi.
I was born and brought up in West Delhi.
Which is very Punjabi.
Yes.
I'm Punjabi too, so I'm very curious. And you're from Paschim Bihar.
Yes.
And you went to Lady Shri Ram College.
Yes.
Which, from what I understand, is one of the most selective colleges in India. What was your class 12 percentage?
Okay, in those
And what
times,
was the best of 4? I think best of 4
Yes.
tha na? Haan.
In those times, I got 91%, which was pretty decent. And my best of 4 was 94, and that's how I got into LSR.
94%.
Yes.
Okay, so my class 12 was 85, so you were ahead of me.
That's
And you were like the padhaku bachcha,
Yes.
right? You were topper and all?
I was a front bencher. I was a topper. I topped my school. I topped my university. Yeah, so I was pretty
तो
good at
फिर ये कैसे हो गया? जो
देखिए,
acting and all
there
this.
is this favorite quote of mine which says that fate
Huh.
leads the willing and drags the reluctant. And I was willing to surrender to fate. That's exactly what I did, because anything I planned in life didn't happen the way I wanted it to be, because I wanted to be an IAS officer and that didn't happen.
You wanted to be IAS officer?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I think, when you're growing up in a middle class family, you always want a secure job. That's your cushion. You look for it. You look for security. And my parents, I think, first I wanted to be a teacher at one point, then I wanted to be, a nanotechnologist, completely different from that. Then I wanted to be a copywriter. And then it was my father's dream that I become an IAS officer. And I was like, okay, why not? It's secure. I'm very good at this subject. Maybe I'll really flourish in this. But God had completely different plans. And I ended up becoming an actor.
इंडिया में ना पापा के सपने और मम्मी के सपने पूरे करते करते लोग जिंदगी बिता देते हैं.
But I think they were, my parents have been very supportive. I think they were the ones who said, okay, it's like, ja ji le apni zindagi type. A friend of mine wanted to be an actor, and she's like, why don't you accompany me to Bombay and we both will chill, and you need to get out of your house. My father was very happy. He said, get out of the house because you're constantly studying and I feel like there's a lot of pressure on you. And I went to Bombay. I ran from my first audition. I got a call from Madras Cafe. They said, why don't you audition for this film? But I said, I don't know if I'm interested in films and I don't want to audition. I don't think I want to do this. And I was very shy. And I got a call again. I again refused. And then the casting director, Jogi ji, he called me and he's like, out of respect for us, please come and give the audition. You might get the film. I auditioned for it and I got the film.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, this is very easy. I mean, it has been very easy for me. But it is very difficult to be an actor.
Yeah.
It's the most insecure job in the world because you don't know if you'll have another film. You have to keep sitting, waiting for months, for years sometimes for it to happen for you. I've been just very blessed and I've just taken opportunities as they've come, and here I am today.
You've done so many films. So many years you've had like four releases.
Yes.
Right? The only person I know who's done that is Akshay Kumar. And
Prakash Raj sir was here.
He also is like that?
No, and he was the one who called me an Indian world actor. Because he's like, you have gotten into all industries. You have worked in all industries and you're still working.
Everywhere there's a release coming of Rashi Khanna.
See, I love working. I think I've just been fortunate enough for all the industries to have given me the kind of films that I have done. Yeah.
So from what I understand, Akshay is a workaholic. He's admitted it in many interviews. He wakes up at like 4 something, he works out, then he works. Because to release 4 films, you have to shoot those 4 films, do the promotions, do the dubbing, do the script. I mean, this is still, you're just working all the time. So is that what your life was those years? Like you're just working all the time?
I think even if you're working for 4 films a year, it's not that hectic because one film you finish in about 45 to 50 days. So it's not like you're constantly working. But when you're working, it's hectic. But 4 films a year is doable, quite doable.
It's doable?
Yes, very doable.
Okay. I mean, there is Amir Khan who does 1 film in 4 years. So there's all kinds
I think they're slowed down now, but I think when they were working, they were also really into it because I remember I was working with Ajay sir in Rudra and he told me, and I asked him, how would you do so many films a year? And he said, I would barely sleep. Like I would sleep for 4 hours from one set to the other, from the other set. Because there are no timelines, like there's no timing when you're shooting. Like it's crazy time.
It just goes on.
So he just would keep going on and he said, this is the age, you have to hustle. And I'm like, yeah, I agree.
So you're a hustler?
So first, how many of you have seen Manjumal Boys? Great. And those who haven't, better watch it. It's on Netflix?
It's on Hotstar, Disney Hotstar.
It's on Hotstar. So you better go and watch it. But of course, the best way to have watched it would have been on the big screen.
Yeah, of course, because of the sound design,
Yeah.
it demands a theater experience.
And especially the caves and the way you show all that is amazing.
Thank you.
So, are you a rich man now, Chidambaram?
On the way. Getting there.
Because the movie made 230 crore and its budget was 20 crore.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, but I'm not the producer.
But I'm sure he must have shared some profit with you. But well done. I mean, how fantastic is it that a movie that is so good is also commercially successful, because the two are not necessarily synonymous, right? But I think Malayalam cinema is slowly proving us wrong and is doing wonderful films that are also commercially viable. So what's going on in Kerala? How are you producing these making these fantastic films?
In fact, I really don't know how I do it because it's just my second movie. Basically, we go behind the story and rest everything follows. That's how we work back in Malayalam. Yeah, at least that's how it is for now.
And it's not that you don't have big stars. I mean, your stars are big, but they surrender themselves to the story rather than the other way around, which is usually the case in other industries. So what's in the water of Kerala that is making all these huge stars and huge stars look for great stories and submit themselves to these great stories?
Because I think our limitation is our superpower, I think. Because financially we are limited to making small films like throughout the history of Malayalam cinema. So we have to go really strong on the content. We have to write like really small stories, very domestic stories like in a family, in a house and stuff like that. And we can't, we usually didn't have the money for the huge spectacle or the big fights and the end climax sequence
And
also.
VFX and
Yeah,
all
VFX
that.
and everything. But now it's changing.
Yeah.
So that's our limitation, and by that training, I don't know, we started going behind good stories and instead of this spectacle. So and I think that's the training, and that's how the stars are also conditioned to surrender to the director and go look for the story. That's it.
And look at your two biggest superstars. I mean, at this age, they're doing such amazing work, which is continuing to push boundaries, right? Talk a little about what a great inspiration they also must be, right?
They are inspiring all the young actors in Kerala on what subjects to choose, and for example, take Mammootty. The characters he has done in the last year is phenomenal. Katal.
I'm sorry.
He is playing a role of a homosexual man. Another film the same year, he is doing a black magic, an occult practitioner, and so it's really inspiring. And I don't know, because also they all worked with really great filmmakers back in the younger days. You know, we had great writers, great directors, which are very content oriented, very emotional drama. So I don't know, like I think they crave it, like still,
Right.
yeah.
And I think the younger generation is just following that.
Yeah, the younger generation is trying to follow that, because at the same time you have to be you see the stars from other industries like from Telugu, from Hindi, from Tamil. You have to dance, you have to fight, you should have a fit body and stuff like that. It was not the case in Malayalam some time back, but now it's suddenly changing. Every actor has to put in work, like has to go to gym in the morning, has to go to dance classes. It's hard work.
Yeah, I know. I speak to Tovino Thomas sometimes, and either he's in the gym or he's taking some dance classes or kickboxing or something or the other.
Yeah, Mohanlal and Mammootty got away with good acting for a long time.
So first, of course, I can only say wow. You look fabulous as always. And we're not going to talk about aging, but yeah, we will talk about aging. But first tell me, Gautami, I mean, we've seen you in movies, we've seen you in television series, we've seen you in a talk show, we've seen you as a politician, and recently you were made Deputy Secretary Propaganda, right, of the AIDMP. What exactly does a Deputy Secretary Propaganda do?
Well, the term is one that holds huge significance. But I would say in a nutshell, it is about taking the fact of the party's relevance, of the ideology, of the track record of effective administration in the state through so many decades consistently to new and emerging generations of voters. So I think that's a very, very important thing that's there in front of us.
This is also a position occupied by no less than Jayalalitha.
It's an honor and a privilege. I mean, there are no words to think that, it's a position that's even close to where she was at one time in her career.
So, what does Jayalalitha mean to you? Is that the reason why you joined the party? Is it her legacy, her politics, her philosophy? What made you join the AIDMK? And then I'll ask you what made you leave the BJP?
Kaveri, there are some things that defy description. There are some things that just are. The bond that I feel with her, as I know so many do, I mean, maybe they respect her politically or as Amma or, in so many different ways. But for me, it was something that was indefinable and that was just always there for almost as long as I can remember, right? So the first time I met her, I was very young.
You had joined the movies by then?
Yeah. And I met her at that time, then I met her maybe once or twice more after that. But there's something that I just felt an indescribable kind of admiration, a bond. I don't know how to define it. She's always been there in my psyche, and it was not political at all.
Right.
I think which is borne out by the fact that I never had anything to do politically with the party in all of these years.
Right. So, was she chief minister when you first met her, or no? She was just a member of the party?
No, she was in opposition at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And talk a little about your meeting with her. You were talking about it the other day, and it was quite interesting. We forget how charming she was,
Oh, she's...
Yeah. She was one of the most poised and sophisticated politicians we had.
And those that have known her, really known her, will say that she was a sweetheart.
Right.
She was very soft, she was very, very loving, very kind, very affectionate. But I think the Iron Woman, that we saw, the sternness and, all of that we saw, were definitely necessary for her to do her job effectively. But also it was about how do you make your place in a world like, politics and stand as a woman, stand alone as a woman and establish control and keep it and keep everyone united and keep the people with you and do it all out of love and affection.
Right. So it has to be a very clever mix of fear and love. There is a certain fear also that you need to inspire in the people around you because they have to respect you. And women politicians aren't necessarily, treated with great respect, right?
There are two kinds of fear, that one could inspire and those that they want to have subordinate to them. One is this fear that makes your knees knock and you're petrified that, oh my God, they're going to go off with my head.
Which I think she also inspired in people.
No, it was not that kind of fear. It was not about, oh my God, my head is going to roll. But it's the kind of fear, like, for example, with my own mother, right? Amazing. We could talk about anything and everything. And she truly was my best friend. We used to fight like cats and dogs and, again, we'd be so close. But with all the indulgence, with all the understanding, with all of this amazing bonding, she just had to turn around from across the room and one look and my blood would freeze. I love her. She's the center of my world. But she could do that, and I think that is because it's a mixture of respect and love. That you can't get without love. And that is what Amma has.
Right. How difficult is it to be a woman politician? And someone who's also been in the movies, like you. I mean, she was like you in many ways. She was in the movies and then she chose politics.
Yes.
Both are really tough professions. You have to develop a thick skin, but at the same time have a thin skin because you're an artist, so you have to be sensitive. but you also have to have a very thick hide, right?
Kaveri, I think, and sadly, I think this is coming more and more true of almost every profession today. You know, especially the generation that's on track now to work. I see this happening with young women across all kinds of careers, and my heart goes out to them. Yes, it is very difficult. Yes, it is necessary to have a thick hide sometimes, as you said. But I think a large part of what happens around you and to you depends on how you carry yourself, depends on the perspective with which you come to work, depends on how hard and in what way you're willing to fight for what you want. I think all of these make a difference. Yeah, there is a sense of, yeah, you know, a woman can be sort of manipulated in a, you know, an easier way, or
because we're so emotional,
yeah,
which
like
is a very good thing, by the way. It's not a weakness.
I don't know if I'm that emotional, actually.
Ah,
Yeah.
smart. So you're
I am very sentimental, yes, but emotional, I don't think so. I'm very pragmatic.
Right.
And I'm very, very practical. And I'm able to see people, you know, in black and white and shades of gray and take it in perspective. I think that's so important.
Right.
ఇక సోషల్ మీడియాలో వైరల్గా మారిన దేవరా సినిమా చుట్టమల్లే పాటను నేరుగా ఒరిజినల్ సింగర్ శిల్పారావే లైవ్లో పాడితే ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్లో అదే జరిగింది. ట్రెండ్కి తగ్గట్లుగా ఆ సాంగ్లో వచ్చే ఆ అనే పోర్షన్ను సరదాగా ఆడియన్స్ హమ్ చేసి ట్రెండ్ని కంటిన్యూ చేశారు.
Fatigue, screen fatigue.
Yes.
So even books we are seeing are making some sort of a
Yes,
comeback.
that's true.
And in your industry, let's talk about some other phenomenon which is very popular these days. Certain concerts, their tickets get sold out in 7 seconds and they are sold in the black market. So although there is a generation that is obsessed with their phone, when it comes to a Coldplay concert or a Diljit concert, it just went in seconds. What's going on there?
We were just talking backstage about this, and I will really not mince my words and say that this is a very elitist way of looking at life.
Elitist way.
Yes, it is, where I think we have sucked the coolness out of denims, lobsters, seafood, and concert tickets. We are just showing up for a Coldplay concert because हमको fix you के 2 लाइन के आगे नहीं आता है, but हमको वहाँ दिखना है. वो एक प्रॉब्लम है. हम क्लासिकल कॉन्सर्ट में कुर्ता पजामा पहन के जा रहे हैं क्योंकि हमको कल्चरल दिखना है, बट रागों का कोई नॉलेज नहीं है, ना ताल का ज्ञान है. कभी कभार ये भी नहीं पता होता कि वो इंस्ट्रूमेंट क्या है वो जो बज रहा है. हाँ, वो सितार टाइप लग रहा है, बट ये नहीं पता कि ये वीणा है. That's what I'm trying to say here is that there are so many of my friends who are genuine fans of Coldplay who actually have gone to different venues, not just in India, abroad also, to listen to them. They genuinely like what they make, but unfortunately they can't do it in their own country. We need to start retrospecting and asking ourselves some important questions. Do I really need to do this? Do I like doing it? Am I happy doing it? If tomorrow my phone, if tomorrow the phone doesn't exist, if social media just shuts down, would you live that same life?
I don't know if people want to live.
No, live the same life.
I don't even know people want to live if you take away their phone.
No. You will be very surprised at what all you can live without. So I think
correct. And even when they go to the concert, the first thing what people do, Coldplay comes on stage, phone is out, recording starts.
Right.
So
like for example, lot of people come up for a selfie. In fact, I have this one odd request. So can you pout? I still enjoy that one person who comes up to me. Can you give me an autograph? It's so much more special, and I'm sure if they ask me that, I will actually write something more personal for them, and I'll remember that person's face.
I won't make you pout, but I will make you sing, and we all want to enjoy your singing, and that's why we are making you sing. So mini free concert. So maybe you can sing two lines of 2-3 songs. Like we don't have time for the whole song.
Medley. Acha.
Medley, okay, medley. We call it a medley, yes. Whatever you feel like.
Okay. ఇది మా తెలుగు వాళ్ళు చాలా ఉన్నారు ఇక్కడ.
All right then.
ఈ పాటలోని మీకు పార్టిసిపేషన్ కావాలి మటుకు. కాదు మటుకు ఒక ఎస్ ఓకే that was in Telugu. Okay. చుట్టమల్లే చుట్టేస్తాంది తుంటరి చూపు ఊరికే ఉండదు కాసేపు అస్తమానం నీలోకమే నామై మరపు చేతనైతే నువ్వే నన్నా పూరా నా నిద్దరు కులాసా నీ కలలకి చేసా నీ కోసం వయసు వాకిలి కాసారా నా ఆశలు పోగేసా నీ గుండెకు వచ్చేసా నీ రాకకు రంగం సిద్ధం చేశా ఎందుకు పుట్టింది ఏమో నువ్వంటే ముచ్చట పుట్టింది పుడతానే నీ పిచ్చి పట్టింది నీ పేరు పెట్టింది వయ్యారం ఓణి కట్టింది గోరింటు పెట్టింది సామికి ముక్కులు కట్టింది చుట్టమల్లే చుట్టేస్తాంది చుట్టేస్తాంది చుట్టమల్లే చుట్టేస్తాంది
Ma'am,
it was a perfect
if I may request,
yes,
with lot of humility for us North Indians, okay, can you please sing in one of the other Indian languages, which is called Hindi?
Okay, yes. I appreciate that line that you just said, one of the Indian languages, because yes, Hindi, Telugu, Urdu, Tamil, everything is one of the languages of India, and I love India for that. Yeah, I love it. Okay, this is brand new.
पुराना एक गाते हैं फिर एक नया गाते हैं ऐसा
पुराना भी गाना है.
The one that made you big.
I still feel there's more to do.
नहीं, the one that made you proud, your first big hit.
Which one?
Bola mein, was it that?
No. Okay, we'll do one. नशा चढ़ा जो शरीफी का उतार फेंका है बेशरम रंग कहाँ देखा दुनिया वालों ने हमें तो लूट लिया मिलके इश्क वालों ने बहुत ही तंग किया अब तक इन ख्यालों ने.
Fantastic. You know, I couldn't manage tickets for the Coldplay concert, but this is the closest to a singer I've ever been in a concert. So yeah, that is amazing. So yeah.
In fact, I think I got to know this about Chris Martin. The last time he was in Bombay performing, so the venue was here and the hotel was here and there was a big roundabout. The traffic kafi thi. Everybody took a roundabout and he was like, it's too much traffic. He just jumped over and went straight, walked in. Yeah, and I found that so cool.
I think
everyone who has a ticket, they should be asked at the counter, आपको कोई Coldplay के बारे में ऐसी बात बतानी पड़ेगी जो आप फैंस को पता होती है.
I think एक quiz होनी चाहिए.
एक quiz होनी चाहिए, तब आप जाके बैठ सकते हैं.
I guess not a bad idea. Yeah, the Coldplay. Then you know what will happen in India? There'll be Coldplay coaching classes. And people will go to Kota to learn Coldplay.
But this only cool people know. Only cool people know this.
But you know, that's how India works. There'll be like accounts, real accounts, Coldplay.
कुछ और जुगाड़ बैठ जाएगा.
हाँ, कुछ का आ जाएगा. You know, lot of singers, at least abroad, less so.
మొత్తంగా అన్ని రంగాల ప్రముఖులకు వారి అభిప్రాయాలకు సరైన వేదికగా నిలిచింది హైదరాబాద్లో జరిగిన ఏబీపీ సదరన్ రైజింగ్ సమ్మిట్ 2024. 100 ఏళ్ల ఏబీపీ నెట్వర్క్ ప్రజల అభిప్రాయాలంటే ఉండే గౌరవాన్ని, అభిప్రాయాలను కల్పించే సమున్నత వేదికను హైదరాబాద్ వేదికగా సగర్వంగా ప్రదర్శించింది. అందరి మన్ననలను అందుకుంది.